I don't believe this actually comes up during trial, but we know it, and we can make decisions based on that. He had multiple other wrongful use of force complaints, including 2 other wrongful death complaints.
Hold up.
He may have been.
Can you point that out? Because if you bring up, and again, this is devil's advocate. I've said this before, but if you can bring up Derek Chauvin's past, can you bring up George Floyd's past?
You absolutely can. And by the way, and
one of the things that we're told is he was on the straight and narrow, and don't talk about his past. So
no. Here's the thing. So I'm saying that Derek Chauvin's past to illustrate that this was someone who had done this on a regular basis, or at least was being accused dozens of, or almost 24 times, something like 17 times, whatever it was, of doing these types of things. Yeah, it's not going to be brought up in trial because it's not. You have to decide whether you think they did this based on the evidence of that fact, of the facts of that case. Us sitting here talking about it, but yeah, no, George Floyd was not an angel.
Right.
And he certainly wasn't, Nancy Pelosi and others. George Floyd was a martyr who sacrificed his life for justice. Mm-hmm. George Floyd was a flawed person who had in his past a violent criminal record, who, from what I have been told, was on the straight and narrow and might have been getting off the straight and narrow. Okay. Mm-hmm. If he had drugs in the system and he was trying to pass off fake 20s, things might have gotten rough for him. And now he's going back into a life of addiction. I don't know, but here's what I do know. And here's all that really matters. George Floyd's not an angel, and he's not a martyr. And I that also bothers me, the aspect of people that are like, well, George Floyd did nothing wrong ever. And it's like, no, George Floyd had victims and did bad things. George Floyd was murdered. And that's the point of all of this. When I talk about Derek Chauvin, killing George Floyd, Derek Chauvin didn't kill George Floyd in the midst of him holding a knife, holding a gun to a woman's head or whatever he did the time that he went to jail for that. Okay. If in the midst of doing something like that, a Derek Chauvin or a police officer came in and George Floyd died, I'd say, well, maybe it was necessary to stop the woman from getting killed. I don't know.
Right.
This is many years after that. This is George Floyd is on the ground, not moving, and then eventually not having a pulse. And that's what we have to look at in terms of whether he did it or not. Looking at Derek Chauvin's past just kind of illustrates, potential for, because it's hard for you and me who are not murderers to be like, yeah, but why would you kneel down on someone? Why what, for you who have not been convicted of murder, to sit here and be like, well, why would someone do that? Well, why did he do that? Why do sometimes people do horrific things? And it's hard to reconcile that. But it does happen. And I believe from the facts that I heard on this case, that's what happened.